This is a warning for any young woman considering getting plastic surgery. I almost lost both my breasts to a severe infection because I could not stop changing my outward appearance.
What's up, y'all? So I'm here with a story time about how I almost died getting a freaking BBL.
Hi guys, so I've been botched in Turkey with a uplifting implants which has left me deformed. It's left me disfigured, mainly on my left breast but on both boobs really.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Cynthia here, and guys, in today's video we're going to be looking at more plastic surgery regrets. Every time I think we've heard all the plastic surgery horror stories, another one pops up, another video, another woman telling her story on TikTok, another "I wish I never got it done" confession. And what's wild is that they make these people believe these aren't extreme surgeries. They make them believe that they are minor procedures, low risks, and quick fix, which in reality are all lies. They are major surgeries. Or is it because they are called plastic surgeries? Now people are realizing that some of these decisions changed their bodies forever. So today we're getting into more plastic surgery regrets. People are finally admitting the ones nobody wanted to talk about when the trend was peaking. Now, without wasting too much time, let's get right into this video.
2 years ago, I got a tummy tuck and it ruined my life. Let's talk about it. So, a lot of you who follow me already know the story, but I haven't talked about it in a while. And since it's been almost 2 years exactly in February, it's healed up and I have more to add to it. A little bit of background: about 15 years ago, I lost 75 pounds. In my early 20s, I gained a lot of weight when I was taking medication. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was very depressed and I was just in this loop cycle. I lost the weight and I kept it off. I kept it off for 15 years. I worked out, I ate healthy. The problem was I had loose skin and stretch marks on my stomach. And this to me was the reason that I wasn't succeeding in life. Like, to me, this is what held me back in every aspect of my life, because it didn't matter how in shape I got, how good I felt about myself. Deep down inside, I knew I was hiding like a deep, dirty, dark secret underneath my clothes. I felt like a walking catfish. I liked the shape of my body, but I knew underneath it was like this dirty secret. What the hell is that? There's paint all over my shirt. So after waiting so long, I had the opportunity to actually get the surgery in February of 2024. So I get the surgery. I also had a breast lift at the same time, again, for the same reasons. Like, I literally looked like I gave birth to 3 children by the time I was 28. So I know that is not the worst thing that can ever happen to someone. I know that. In my mind, because I had spent, a good portion of that time in your life, in your in your 20s in general, when everyone is like hot and like being the best version of themselves and at like, peak level hotness, and you're allowed to get away with the stuff that you wear. Like, I'm sorry, I know it sounds so vain, but I missed out on that entire part of my life. And don't come for me about this. I'm 38 years old and I wear whatever I want. And I'm still just trying to be as comfortable as I can in the only body that I'm ever going to have. But this is how I did feel prior to the surgery. So I'm just describing to you how I used to feel. I'm not shaming anyone. I'm not telling anyone you have to be young to be hot. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just telling you about my thought process at the time. So February 2024, I get the surgery. I was living with my ex-boyfriend at the time, who we were still together, and he was my caretaker. And I get the surgery. Everything's fine. I got both surgeries. Day 3 post-op is when I first noticed discoloration along the incision line. It wound up being necrosis. So the very front part of my incision went necrotic. The skin tissue died. I don't know if you know anything about this, but it is single-handedly the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. Now, mind you, those who follow me already know I'm neurodivergent. I have OCD and I have chronic health issues. And one of my biggest phobias is like wounds. One of my big OCD things are wounds. Like, I can't even look at a wound. I can't look at a scratch on myself, on anyone else. Like, this progressed to a point where, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It went from like minor discoloration, like a bruise, to a giant black scab that had the most disgusting stuff underneath it. Like, I'm not going to go into it. I will vomit right now. I will vomit. It was the most gruesome thing I've ever seen in my life, and it was on my own body. At this time, now, this is, mind you, day 3 post-op is when I found out. 1 week post-op, me and my boyfriend broke up and he left. So I was completely alone as of 1 week post-op. Doing everything myself, cooking, cleaning, you know, doing everything you're not supposed to do when you're recovering. So from there, it just got progressively worse. It, again, I had to go and get that black scab removed. This was about April that it was removed. Then that left me with a giant hole in my stomach, in the very front of my stomach, a giant hole 2 inches wide by 2 inches deep inside me. This is way too long. I'm going to do a part 2.
Okay, guys, let's get right into the part 2.
Okay, so this is part 2 of how a tummy tuck ruined my life. So I do want to add some things and clarify some things on the last video after watching it back. I wanted to add that I had 4 consultations with 4 different surgeons before I got the surgery. And the surgery was done in the United States by a board certified plastic surgeon in my area, who I not only, you know, read good reviews about, but I personally know people who had really good results and recommended it. Also moving forward, you can definitely expect this to be all over the place. Again, I'm not going to keep saying neurodivergent, like I'm not going to have to, because you will see, but I'm going to be jumping around a lot probably, so please forgive me for that. We left off, I had a 2-inch wide by 2-inch deep hole in my stomach. What they did to get there is basically I had to go to my surgeon. He had to, like, you know, remove it. And then I had to do my own wound care. Previously mentioned, I have a wound phobia, like a very bad wound phobia. And I had to do my own home care, again, with no one there. The images that I was seeing in my mind, like, let's just put it this way. When I close my eyes at night, I still see that wound when it was at its grossest point on a loop in my mind. It absolutely scarred me. Like, I'm not going to lie. It absolutely scarred me, and I still have not recovered from it. I know that might sound silly to some people who don't understand OCD or how that works, but it did a number on me. It's part of why it ruined my life. What I had to do after it was removed was I had gauze that I had to soak in a very strong antiseptic solution. It's called Dakin solution, and it's quite literally made with bleach, just to give you an idea how strong it was. And I had to soak the gauze every single day in the antiseptic solution, the Dakins, and then take the gauze and stick it inside the hole. I'm sorry, it's like actually hard for me to talk about because it's disgusting to think about, but it's also like, in some ways, I feel like I'm looking at it like it happened to someone else. It almost doesn't feel real because I had to dissociate and check out so badly just to get through that portion of it. But I had to do my own wound care every day. That consisted of taking out, doing it, and doing the dressing again. Now, on top of that, I had to tape like a bandage, like a big bandage over, and like do the whole gauze thing over it. I also had tubes. I had 2 drains. So I had one in my pelvis on this side and one on that side. And basically from the first week, I also had issues with my right drain. It was constantly getting like clogged. I had a tear in one of the tubes, and that's going to come back later too. Ugh, that's one of the things that I was so mad about, is no one talks about how horrible it is to deal with those drains. Like, had I known that was the worst part, one of the worst parts of the recovery, like without the complications, of course, but like if it were just recovery based, like that was awful. It was awful. Like, you know, when you're like having a bad day and you're like running late and your purse strap like gets stuck on the doorknob or something, the tubes would do that. So the right drain tube kept coming out, like it kept getting dislodged and it would come out. And like, I don't know if you know much about the drains, but I'm going to put a picture here so you can see how much it actually goes inside, like how deep it goes, and why you would think it's so annoying to have it keep coming out over and over again. So then one day, the tube just basically almost came completely out and there was a giant tear in it again. So this was like, I want to say 4 weeks after the surgery post-op, and I had my left drain out 3 weeks post-op. So they remove the whole drain, it comes out, and in like 2 days maybe, I developed a seroma. I literally it looked like a snake swallowed a basketball. My stomach, it was hard. It was the most uncomfortable sensation I've ever felt. Also, throughout this whole thing, I did not experience any pain whatsoever. I have a lot of nerve damage there. It's still numb almost exactly 2 years later. It's still numb. I have no feeling right here whatsoever. So luckily on that end, I didn't feel any of this, but it felt very odd because it was numb. So I had to go into the office like every 2 days and get that drained with a giant syringe. I'm talking like a needle this big, like a giant syringe, not a small syringe. Oh God, it was so gross. It was so gross. And basically the only way for that wound to heal is for it to heal from the bottom up. So it was just waiting. Because I had to tape bandages over with that solution, the Dakin solution, I wound up getting a chemical burn, like with blisters and everything. It looked like someone put an iron on my stomach. And then I had to stop using that. Luckily, it did heal. I think it finally closed, I want to say July of 2024. So again, surgery was February 28th of 2024, and it finally closed in July 2024. So then I was going to have a scar revision.
So the gist is the wound finally got healed. I mean, all those complications, oh my goodness. I feel like the risks associated with most of these plastic surgeries are not just worth it to me. Imagine going through all that without knowing you could actually go through all that. Like you thought it was just going to be easy, simple, you recover quick and start going by your day. Imagine now going through major complications. No, guys, this is really tough.
I'm officially in swell hell, as my friend called it. It's miserable. I am 7.5 weeks post-op of my tummy tuck, and let me tell you, since I've started working out, all I have done is swell. I have eaten so clean. So freaking clean. I have been sticking to all of my goals every day, and I am so swollen and bloated. Granted, yes, I know I need to lay off the sodium. That's my bad. I'm a salty girl, okay? But I cannot believe the level of swelling. It is uncomfortable. It hurts. It messes with your head. Like, you guys know, I am a pretty confident, positive body image type of person. And this is hard for me. So I just want you to know that if you've had a tummy tuck and you start working out, or maybe you're not working out and you're still just swelling, breathe, because this will pass. This is temporary. And it's not weight gain. It's inflammation and swelling. Okay? Let's just say that together. It's not weight gain. It's inflammation and swelling, and it's normal. It's normal. Okay, that's it. We're fighting through. We're going to stay positive. Bye.
Is it really normal? People that have had tummy tuck, is it really normal to swell after your surgery, even after 7 weeks? Ooh, this is scary.
Hi guys, so I've been botched in Turkey with a uplifting implants, which has left me deformed. It's left me disfigured, mainly on my left breast, but on both boobs really. And I've been told to do this video to raise awareness. I wasn't gonna, because I was a bit like, I'm not really feeling sharing the whole story. But it's actually a girl on here whose video I watched called Amy, who actually basically saved my life really, because I was like listening to the surgeons and stuff saying that it was just secondary healing, when I seen her video, I asked her, can I send you a picture please of my boobs and whatever. After I'd listened to her story, you'll have to follow her because she's got a whole story as well. And she said, yeah, add me on WhatsApp. So I sent her pictures of my boobs and she was like, babe, this isn't secondary healing. This is actually your body rejecting these implants and infection, etc, etc. Which we found out further down the line now that I've had the infection from day one. I've had necrosis, I've had gangrene, I was at the very beginning of sepsis when I had my emergency surgery to remove the implants. You know, it left me unable to look after my 1-year-old daughter. It's left me now like completely insecure and stuff about my body. I already had like 34 D boobs. I don't know why I messed around. They was a bit down south from breastfeeding and stuff, so I felt like, you know, I wanted this uplift. I went and had my consultation, and they said, you know, implants would be the best look to go for, blah 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 blah, which I kind of agreed. You know, surgeon knows best. Did my research for nearly a year before like going for the actual surgery, and yeah, I've been completely disfigured. I've had the implants removed since on the NHS. Like I was literally on death's door the night before I had the actual emergency surgery, which the next day made me go to A&E presenting myself like, oh my god, I think I'm dying. I was seeing things through the night. I had this wound on my boob that actually just went 3 times the size, which was like a gangrene. And it's all kind of snowballed from this 6-week period from me first having the surgery at the end of May until about 4 weeks ago when I eventually had the implants removed. So yeah, it's something that I can go into more detail about, but I've been told to make this video to raise awareness because Amy literally probably saved my life and made me realise, no, this isn't normal. And then I'd already been going to and from A&E during this time, having lots of leaking from my boobs and stuff, but was just told, you know, it's okay. And I got the second opinion because of Amy. And, you know, if I can share my story and, you know, make a difference, then yeah, I will go into detail, but it's obviously you're probably not going to get it all in this one video.
Making awareness is a good thing, but can I just add, any outside body you put in your body is a risk. It only takes the grace of God for some of the cases to heal properly. Ladies, please be careful out there. I think there are exercises to like build the muscles there again, but like all these implants and all that, I feel it's a no.
This is my story time on how I had a surgery at a crazy plastic surgery place in Miami that unalived probably around 8 women a few years ago. So it was 2019 and I was just on the backside of losing probably 180 pounds. I started in 2018 and I lost it very quickly. So I had like a lot of stomach skin because my stomach was huge, of course. So I was looking at places on where I could get my surgery done to remove the skin. So I had a friend that also lost weight, right? And so she told me, hey, like I got mine done last month in Miami. There's a really affordable place. And at this time, I actually was living in Ohio. I'm in Florida now. I was living in Ohio. And so I was like, okay, cool. Like I will call them, I'll schedule it, and then I'll fly down there and get it done. So I called them and everything, and I think the total price was probably $5,000, which is dirt cheap for a tummy tuck with lipo. So I planned it all. I sent them the money, and I flew down with my dad. So me and my dad went to this place. I went the first day. It's like you go in for a consultation with the surgeon, and then they do the surgery the following day or like 2 days later or something, you know, because you had to get blood work and whatever. And so I went into this place and the whole waiting room was full. It was full of women. And it was in a strip mall, okay? Like it was like in like a part of Cuban Miami, which isn't a bad thing, but it was like no one around spoke English, which was okay, you know, but like I was just kind of like out of my zone. And so I walked in and the waiting room was filled with women. And there was like rap music blaring on the TVs, which is fine. That's fine. It just didn't seem very professional. So basically most of those women were there for BBLs or for butt shots. And so I was like, whatever, I guess they didn't do as many tummy tucks, but I didn't want my butt done at the time. So I did my consultation. Like they were really quick. The doctor seemed nice. He was a guy from Chicago. And I kind of like thought to myself, like, what is he doing working in some obscure small clinic in Miami, in the Spanish speaking part of Miami, doing like plastic surgery. I didn't really understand that because it kind of seemed weird, and he was the only white dude in there, which was fine, but I was just like, this is just, I don't know. You know, he obviously wasn't from Miami, so I was just like, that's kind of strange. Anyway, he was nice. So I got my surgery date and I came back. I think it was like 2 days later. And before I went in, I guess it was surgery day for everybody. So there was these women actually being wheeled out, okay, with like their butt all wrapped in like a surgical wrap, okay? Their legs like wrapped, everything, dude. They were bringing them out and putting them into the back of like Suburbans, okay? Like in the trunk of these big SUVs, like literally carrying them like this and putting them in the back of these cars in the front entrance of the place, blood dripping down their legs and like soaked through on their surgical garments. Like you could see it. And my dad was like, oh my God, like, are you sure you want to do this here? And I said, well, I mean, I already paid. We're down here. Like, I'm going to lose my money, you know? And I honestly, I was so desperate. I was big my whole life. So this was a huge thing for me. Like, I wanted to feel pretty. So I said, no, I'm going to do it. It's fine. Let's go for it. Fuck it, you know? So I went in, I got the surgery and everything, and it was fine. Like, basically what they do there, once you get your surgery done, like, you're out within an hour. Like, I was barely even woken up from my anesthesia, and they were like pushing me out to my dad's car. So I got in his car and it was fine. Like, I couldn't really tell much on the results. I felt like crap. And like when I got back to our Airbnb, I literally fainted, which wasn't the worst part of it, actually. So I'm gonna continue in part 2.
My nosy self wants to watch the part 2, but she kept on distracting me with the moves she was making. Like, girl, just focus and talk. But wait, guys. You saw them bringing out women wrapped up and then being tossed around like no man's business. And you still went ahead to get your surgery done. Some people have signs, but they refuse to listen to those signs. Anyway, let's see what the part 2 is about. Hopefully she's not too distractive.
Part 2 on my scary surgery situation in Miami. All right, so I stayed in Miami about a week, okay? Enough to fly back home. And they sent me home with like a JP drain, they're called. So it basically is kind of like a drain. It goes on your stomach and like it has like a bulb and it has like drainage, you know, like surgical drainage. But so they sent me home with that. And I felt okay the first week I was back home. So 2 weeks later, we actually went back to Florida, but a different part. We went to like this area I'm living now, the Tampa area. And we drove because my mom doesn't like to fly. So we went on a family trip and we drove down here. I was starting to feel really bad on this trip. And I'm a nurse, so I kind of know like the symptoms of like, you know, going septic, things like that. So it took about 2 days because we stopped halfway down. Once we finally got to Florida, I had spiked a fever of 103. And so I said, look, I have to go to the hospital now. I don't care where you take me. I didn't know anything about this area. So I was just like, just take me to one because this isn't okay. I felt super weak. My face was pale. I'm going to put a picture down here what I looked like on the drive. It's actually really scary. I looked like I'm dead in the eyes. So they took me and they did, you know, a scan on me. And I had a giant pocket of like infection inside of my abdomen, an intra-abdominal infection, huge amount of it. So they admitted me and they put me in the ICU and on so many, like, I was getting like IV antibiotics like around the clock. It was awful. So I was in there like on the 4th day that I was in there. It was actually my birthday and it was like 4 a.m. My mom spent the night with me at the hospital and my blood pressure started dropping. It started tanking. Like I'm talking, it was down to 45/30 at one point. And so the nurse freaked out. She was such a good nurse. And she said, you know, would not leave me. She stayed in my room. And so they started an emergency blood transfusion on me and it didn't raise my blood pressure that much. It was still just like 50 over 40. Like my blood pressure was tanking, guys. It was really bad. And I guess they thought maybe it was the infection that it was causing my organs to shut down and I was going into shock. So they gave me a few rounds of those blood transfusions. And so by like 9 a.m., my blood pressure was stabilized. And this is what I looked like in the hospital. Long story short, I ended up having to be in the hospital for almost 3 weeks. And I still had to follow up like with another doctor because they actually thought they were going to have to do some type of surgery. I don't know, like, or put another drain because the infection needed to drain somewhere. So actually, I think they did put another drain inside of me. But I actually searched up this place, and I guess later in 2019, they were shut down by the health department because they actually unalived 8 women. And the families are actually suing some of the doctors now. So I guess that's why the state of Florida finally decided to step in. I don't know why they weren't stepping in prior to this, but it's actually terrifying, and I feel so bad for those women. And I could have been the 9th victim, but I'm so glad that it didn't happen like that, because, you know, I would have left behind my kids, everybody, over a stupid surgery. So that's my story. Be careful where you go to get surgeries.
Sweethearts, the signs were there. She's lucky she attended to her situation quicker than she would have normally because she was going. Let's be real, guys. Imagine you're going to get surgery at a place and you're seeing women pushed out and tossed in a van. How would you still have the mind to still go on with that surgery? She's lucky she survived this whole thing.
What's up, y'all? So I'm here with a story time about how I almost died getting a freaking BBL. You know what a BBL is? Come here, let me tell you about it. Yesterday, February 19th, marked 5 years since I went and got a BBL. Ooh, BBL, big booty Judy. For those of you who don't know what a BBL is basically a Brazilian butt lift, where they take, basically I got a Brazilian butt lift in Lipo 360, but it's basically when they take the fat, they transfer the fat from your stomach, from your, what do you call these things, your love handles, your back fat, all of that, and they transfer it into your booty. So they lipo the stuff all out your stomach. Depending on how much fat you got, they might take it out your thighs, but typically your abdomen area in your back, they take that out by liposuctioning, and then they put it in your booty. But yeah, the BBL trend was real big around this time. Very popular on social media. Everywhere you turned around, you saw banging bodies, big booties, titties sitting up to their damn chin. Like, people bodies was just looking phenomenal. And a lot of celebrities, you have, you know, your Kim Kardashians, your Nicki Minaj's, you know what I'm saying, your Cardi B's, all of these different people that was like big influencers, was walking around with these perfect like Coke shake bottles. And it was a trend that I was like, ooh, like, I want to be a part of that. Like, I want to have that Vixen body. I've always wanted to have a super duper nice body. And so eventually I decided, at first I wasn't going to get a BBL, but then I was like, shoot, like, why not? You know what I'm saying? Because social media made it look like it was just such an easy procedure. And like, you know what I mean? You didn't see the downtime. You didn't see the bad time, the bad sides of it and different stuff like that. And so in this series, I am going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between when it comes to getting cosmetic procedures, specifically getting a BBL, because it is one of the most dangerous cosmetic procedures that there is. And so I would want to now share my story after it's been 5 years of me going through the mickey ficky trenches, y'all. When I tell y'all I went through it, and I would say just recently, probably within the last year, that I've just started to come out of it being like back to my normal self. Share this video with anybody that you know that possibly may be considering it. I am going to be completely raw, real, very transparent about my whole entire surgery process, and like I said, how I literally almost lost my life with 4 children at home to do a body enhancement surgery. So yeah.
Okay, guys, let's get right into the part 2.
So yeah, me almost dying from this BBL, y'all, honey. I'm gonna start off by telling y'all why I decided to do this particular procedure, because there's other options out there that, you know, a lot of women choose, like just doing lipo 360 or doing a tummy tuck or something like that. And at first that is what I was going to do, but I was just like, you know what? I really want like a little bit of enhancement to my butt, because I had a nice little butt, but I had a bigger belly. And when I tell y'all the belly was bellying, I had a little fatty back there, but that belly was like, I had booty do, y'all. Y'all know what booty do is? That's when your belly stick out farther than your booty do. And yeah, I was there. So I had just had my 4th son. I actually wanted to get the surgery after I had my 3rd son. And I had started planning around 2017. After I had him, I had started looking into getting the surgery. And then I ended up getting pregnant with my baby in 2018 and ended up having him 2019. And so I had been looking at different surgery places for probably like 2 years before I even got the procedure done. And I thought that would be like the best thing for me when walking into this procedure. And I thought that it was going to make me even that much more safer because I did such extensive research, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so my body was super bad. I had a bad ass body in my eyes, in my opinion. And my why really was because, for one, I had just started a clothing brand in 2018. And I also had started a women's boutique. And I'm just like, listen, I think like I looked at it as an investment, honestly. I looked at it as an investment because I wanted to be the face of my brand. You know what I mean? You know how you see different women online and they got boutiques and stuff like that, and they model all of their clothes and stuff like that. And that was like, I was right up my alley. Like, I love makeup. I love fashion. I love clothes. And so like, now that I got my own boutique, I'm like, that'd be perfect. I could play dress up every day. But I was just very insecure with what my body was looking like. And I'm just like, I really need to go and get this surgery done. It was trending. It was everywhere. Every time you swiped, everywhere you looked, it was BBL this and BBL that. And when I tell you, honey, them bodies was banging. I ain't gonna even lie. People was like, the results that people were coming out with, they were looking good. They were looking really good. And it was really enticing. And, yeah, I fell for the trap. I fell in the trap. Like, I bees in the trap, bees in the trap. I fell for the trap. But anyway, so yeah, I'm like, ultimately though, when I sit back and I look back in hindsight, I was a little insecure. I was definitely insecure. I was going through a lot in my marriage at the time. It was just a real kind of like bad time. I think I was going through postpartum and I didn't realize it and stuff like that. Cause us as Black women, like, we always have to be so strong and we always got to, persevere and get through the stuff. But I had been going through a lot at that time. And so like all of that together, and along with me wanting to try to get myself to be better and more healthier and have a more nicer, more fit physique, you know what I'm saying, to be the face of my brand, all that tied into the reason why I decided to get this surgery ultimately, which was something that changed my life forever.
I get that postpartum and all that, being insecure, so many other things to add to this. But if you just had a child, give yourself time to heal. Don't just feel like after 1 year your body is not good, you want to work on your body. Your body needs more than 1 year to heal from having a child.
R.I.P. to getting BBLs. R.I.P. to the BBL trend. Let's talk about it. So in this part of my story time, I'm going to tell y'all about how I vetted out my doctor and different stuff like that. Basically, I started doing my research, like I said, 2 years prior to me getting the surgery. So I vetted out doctors between Miami, Colombia, Atlanta, and Dominican Republic, because Dominican Republic is where they do they big one in Dominican Republic. I'm not gonna lie. My BMI was like off the charts at the time. I was very much obese, big body built Buick up in this thing. And I honestly shouldn't even have been getting the surgery the size that I was, but because I was being hard-headed, I did. But the doctor that I ended up vetting out took a higher BMI. I ended up settling with the doctor in Miami. Originally, I had picked the doctor at Mia Aesthetics, and a couple months after I had put that $500 deposit down, I end up starting to hear like real shady stuff about the clinic, like sanitation, and one of the doctors had a death, and another girl, they was getting infections and all kind of crazy stuff. So I was like, nah, I'm gonna back out of that, lose that little deposit. And I end up finding the late and great Dr. Doback, rest her soul. She just passed away last year. And my biggest thing with looking for a doctor, a lot of it was absolutely making sure that they didn't have no deaths on their records, making sure that the facility had a clean track record as far as sanitation, as far as communication, as far as professionalism. Those things were really big for me because I'm really big on communication, and I get some people nerves when it comes to stuff like that because I have a lot of questions. Now back to my BMI side, what my BMI was. It was a little higher. I think my BMI was like 33 or a 34, and most clinics required it to be, I want to say, like a 31 and below or something like that. That was one of my biggest reasons for going with her. And she was also delivering them PR results right here in the States. So I'm like, yeah, she's giving them bodies on bodies on bodies on bodies type of results. And like, that's what I wanted, but I didn't want to go overseas. I was really scared. I was skeptical about Dominican Republic, but when I really look back in hindsight and knowing what I know now, I actually wish that I would have went to the DR. But yeah, y'all want to check and y'all want to make sure these doctors are, for one, that they're board certified, because a lot of times people don't realize that it's regular smegler doctors up in there that's doing these major cosmetic procedures on people, and they're not even board certified to perform those type of procedures, but they're getting away with it. So yeah, that's something to look into. Whether they offer stuff like cell savers and stuff like that, because a lot of women suffer from low iron deficiency, and that cell saver is something that basically regenerates the blood and puts it back into your system in order for you to replenish the blood that was lost during the surgery, because obviously you lose a lot of blood and stuff like that. And so that was my thing. I was literally bleeding out after my surgery, y'all. When I tell you, like, I was bleeding profusely, I don't even understand why I was being allowed to even leave the clinic when I left. But that's another time for another story in this series. And I thought that I did all the right things in picking out and finding my surgeon, and like, it was a good clinic and it had a good reputation and different stuff like that. But it was so many red flags that I feel like I missed and I disregarded, even with me doing the extensive research that I did. So y'all stick around for the next part.
I feel like she's dragging this whole thing, but anyway, guys, let's get into the part 4.
Imagine being a single mother of 4, getting a cosmetic procedure done, and not even 2 hours after getting out of surgery, you having to be rushed to the hospital. Now in this video, I'm going to talk about the day I got my procedure done, because I feel like that's something really important to touch on so everything else can make sense for y'all. Now, originally, I was going to touch on the preparation for getting a cosmetic surgery, preparing mentally, emotionally, financially, and all that type of stuff, which is still very important. But I decided to just go in and get down to the nitty-gritty so that y'all could really understand why this was such a devastating experience for me. So the day of the surgery, I go in, do my regular pre-op stuff. I think I had to get some blood work done. I was probably like the second patient that day. So I got there pretty early in the morning, and it was already a lot of people in the waiting area that were waiting to get surgery. I go ahead and they send me to the back. I get dressed down. Dr. Doback does come in the room and do my basically my body marking. And that's where they mark your body up in order for them to be able to see where they're going to take the fat out from and stuff like that. So it seemed like it was hours before it was my turn. And, I was just in the room chilling, listening to my music, praying. I was in a good mood, so just trying to, pump myself up for such a major experience. So now it was time for me to go back and do the anesthesiologist and get put to sleep and all of that type of stuff. I get put to sleep. Everything was cool. The next thing I know, after waking up from, God knows, I don't know how long I was in surgery, maybe a few hours. As soon as I wake up, I don't remember waking up in a recovery room. I don't remember no nurses being around me. Hey, how you doing? You're just waking up. You're in the recovery room. I don't remember none of that. The first thing I remember is getting wheeled out of the back door and getting put in my 24-hour nurse that I had hired car. So I literally went from going to sleep to waking up to being wheeled out the door in excruciating. I'm talking about excruciating pain. Like the ride to the hotel room, because I had rented me a hotel room, and the ride back to the hotel room was just kind of it was like a blur. I don't even really remember getting in the car once because I was in so much freaking pain. And I'm like, I just got my body done. Maybe this is just the normal pain. So we finally get back to the hotel room, and they didn't have no wheelchair available at the hotel in order for me to get to and from like to the hotel room. So luckily my room was one of the first rooms when you walked into the hotel from out the side door. So we pulled up at the side door, and I literally had to walk in that room, like from out of the car to in that room. And of course I had assistance, like the people at the hotel was helping me, my niece was there, my nurse was helping me. But like when I tell y'all, I didn't think that I was gonna even be able to make it to the room. Like that's how much pain that I was in. So I get back into the hotel room, and I literally like fall to my knees in pain. And I was like, where's my medicine? Because I had left my medicine. I had picked my medicine up the day before I went into surgery. And so my medicine was at the hotel room. And so I'm like, just give me my medicine. Where's my medicine? It's my pain meds. So I think I took like 2 of them. I was only supposed to take 1. I think I took like 2 of them because I was in so much pain. I turn over, I kind of like lift my stomach up and like look down, and like I had my faja on, because you know after you get out of surgery they put you on that garment or whatever to like, you know, keep you snug or whatever, tighten that shit up. I seen like my stomach, and it was just like blood. Like I just seen like it was just blood, like red, bright red blood. And I'm like, I know that I got incisions. I know that, you know what I mean? I have, you know, it's gonna be excess fluids and liquids and stuff like that come out, you know what I mean, like the saline and all that type of stuff. But I'm like, that is not what this is. I know for a fact this is blood, like I'm bleeding. So I had kind of started feeling weak. I was feeling dizzy. I was feeling discombobulated. And my nurse was like, well, let me take your blood pressure. She checked my blood pressure. My blood pressure was low. She checked my oxygen. My oxygen was low. So at this point, you could start to see something was like visibly wrong with me. Like my skin, I was looking really flushed. My skin was looking gray and pale. My lips was dry. I know I could tell that I was very dehydrated. I was so thirsty. My niece was worried. My nurse was even worried at this point. She called the clinic. She let them know what was going on. You know what they said? Call 911. She probably needs to go to the hospital. And I'm like, well, I just left y'all clinic. Y'all didn't see that this was going on with me. Y'all didn't see that I had that my stomach, one of my, what do you call those things? One of my incisions were like bleeding. None of that. So my nurse basically decides to call 911. I get rushed to the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, that's when all hell broke loose.
So obviously, where she went to was not even professional, because how would she call them and tell them, okay, this is what she's seeing, and they'll say, you guys should probably call 911? What? But she just left your clinic. Anyway, she's alive to tell the story. That's all that matters, because who would have taken care of her 4 kids? I don't know, ladies, please, if you're considering getting this type of surgery, yes, there are cases where it's successful. Please bear in mind that there are cases where it's not successful, and if you have people that you cater to, put them in mind. Like, think about them. What will happen if things go wrong? 4 kids, imagine everything just went south. What would have happened? All you need to do is just give yourself time to heal, give yourself time to work out in the gym, give yourself time to eat right, give yourself time to work on yourself by yourself without going under the knife. I feel like going under the knife should be for something really serious, like maybe a health scare, and they say like the only way to keep you alive is to get this surgery done. Then yes, by all means, go ahead and save your life. But if your life is not dependent on the surgery, then it's no use. But yes, guys, let me know what you all think about all the stories we heard in the comments. And yes, beautiful people, I've come to the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, do not forget to give the video a fat thumbs up. If you are not subscribed, consider subscribing, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.